Missing Real with Mike Darrigo. I see you. Well, at least I imagine I see you listening happily to this podcast. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to Season 7. I can't believe I've gone this far and wasted this much time of my life, but hopefully it was worth something and you got some chuckles out of it all this time and you're still there. So thanks. Or anybody who's just joining for the very first time, it's okay. Just, listen. I don't care. I have 1,000,000 episodes. You listen to the ones you like. I don't care. But they're all about these amazing movies. And there's so many over the years. I still have more to do. There's probably still more that haven't been filmed yet, but I'm going back a bit. Now I got something from 2009. It's not that recent, but recent enough. James Cameron's blockbusting worldwide hit, Avatar. You probably remember how much you loved Avatar and how badly you're going to want to plop down some money to see the sequels that took, 13 years to get to the screen. But, later this year, 2022, we will be finally seeing the very first of many proposed Avatar sequels. So it ought to be great, and it should have been something pretty awesome to begin with. And yeah, it was. If you remember seeing Avatar for the first time, we knew it was from James Cameron, and you can kind of trust the guy because he's made some of the greatest movies of all time. I don't even have to mention Aliens and Terminator and Terminator 2 and True Lies and maybe Titanic, if you're feeling a little bit sappy. But then he sort of went off the deep end and started doing all these underwater movies and shooting films underwater and doing documentaries about fish and coral and whatever he was doing, and it got pretty damn boring. But then finally he came up with this crazy idea about these big giant blue creatures that live on this idyllic, colorful planet with lots of flowers and weird glow-in-the-dark stuff. It's like having a world's biggest black light poster stretched across your backyard, and it's just lit, and if you're lit, you might enjoy it even more. But yeah, Avatar was a visual feast, especially in 3D, and the technology that was created to do this movie, Cameron had been waiting for it since around 1995, but the technology just wasn't ready. And he developed these 3D cameras specifically for Avatar, and when you went to see this in the theater, you damn well better have gone and seen it in IMAX 3D, because that's where you get the full effect, the visual splendor. There is, some emotional and story content there as well. It has some substance, but it's just like an eye-popping, colorful 3D wonder world of fantasy sci-fi creatures and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. It's, the plot could be a bit more complicated and deep, but hey, it's really about nature and not messing with ecology and displacing native peoples from their land in the name of whatever, our expansion of our race, harvesting all the minerals and crap that don't even belong to us, things like that. The message, there's always the message in there. But what a beautiful movie, what a fun movie. Maybe not as hardcore kick-ass as Aliens and the Terminator stuff, but Cameron had to evolve. He wanted to make money again. He wanted people to come to his movies. It's good family. Once you get past the concept of these steroid Smurfs, with these sort of big yellow panther cat kind of eyes and faces and whiskers on them and all the weird things that they do later on, like plug their ponytails into orifices of the creatures. It's kind of disgusting and obscene, but yeah, we're supposed to take it as science fiction, so it's not pornography of any sort. Yeah, so the word avatar is probably a deterrent already because nobody knew what the hell an avatar even was. I mean, now you use your computer, you got your little emojis and your fake, I wish I looked like this image you put on there for everybody to see. That's your avatar, right? That's what you really wish you looked like. Well, that's a different form of you. It's like your digital representative, proxy, whatever you want to call it. And in this movie, avatars are the creatures that we humans grow in vats so that we can live on this other planet with the native creatures who our avatars are sort of copying. They're bigger than us, they're taller, they are more athletic, they run through the jungles in all different colors, and they fire these giant arrows dipped in poison. They're just jungly. They don't have that much technology, and we do. But they still have stuff that we want buried under their beautiful earthy forest and, their trees. And, we're looking for this stuff, this unobtainium, which is this substance that they just come up with a silly name for in a lot of movies. And we're just trying to get it from them. And we don't care who we have to shove out of the way or bulldoze or how many trees we have to kill and knock down and not replant to get it. So that's what our story is kind of about. Yeah, James Cameron finally got back to making these really cool movies. For a little while he was doing television with Dark Angel, 2002 or so, but that gave us Jessica Alba, so thank you, Jim. That was nice. But that show didn't really go very far. Finally back with a big budget on the big screen, Avatar comes along, and the word Avatar, actually, one more thing about that, because I know you want me to get on with it, but Avatar is such a cool word that even before James Cameron released this movie, I actually wrote a song and recorded a song called Avatar. It's kind of cool. It's kind of sinister, it's neat, it's kind of industrial. I just thought it would be a cool word for a song, title. And there was also some cheap, low-budget blue cologne called Avatar that I remember buying, for like $5, $10 at Rite Aid or whatever and spritzing it on myself just because it looked cool, because it was blue. And I had no idea that a few years later on there would be an Avatar movie with all these blue creatures that are so famous and worldwide popularity and money and marketing. And the cologne probably just got discontinued before the movie ever came out. But yeah, I remember what it smelled like. It was nice. It was like, a Navi's armpit. Very nice, very, musky, and it'll attract a mate in seconds if you can know how to choose the mate, and it chooses you. That's how it goes. It's like the law of the jungle and the creatures and stuff. You'll see. Just let's come along with me. I'll explain it to you. It's probably been many years since you've seen Avatar, and if you're even going to bother going to see the sequel, I have to kind of like prime you and, bring you back up to speed on it and debrief and rebrief you. So let's listen to this podcast and talk about Avatar, because I barely remember it too. I watched it a bunch of times. I have it on Blu-ray. It's beautiful. It looks great. It's one of those movies that you really want to show off your fancy-ass HD TV with. So here we are at Avatar. Its main star is somebody we really hadn't seen much of before, Sam Worthington playing Jake Sully. And our story starts off with him. Sam Worthington is in a few other good movies around the same time, 2009. He was in Terminator Salvation, which had nothing to do really with James Cameron, but was one of the better post-T2 Terminator sequels, in my opinion. So yeah, that's a good one. Even though there's really no Arnold in it, just a digital Arnold. But we're not talking about digital Arnolds. There's a lot of other digital people in this movie, too, you're going to see and be blown away by and dazzled by. So, all right, so Sam Worthington, other than the Terminator Salvation, he was in Clash of the Titans, also another reboot, remake, and in Wrath of the Titans. And I don't know if Titans have any other, feelings and shit that they want to go through and make movies about, but so far it was only those two. They were okay. There were considerations for other actors to be Jake Sully, like Chris Pratt and Chris Pine. They auditioned. But yeah, let's get this newcomer here. We have other galaxies to explore with Kirk and Star-Lord there. So they got their franchise rolling along. But I don't think they're going to have 5 movies like Avatar is supposed to. Hopefully, Sam Worthington gets to be in all these movies and they're all good. And, they all get made in our lifetime because they're taking a long ass time. I think he's working on 5 movies right now. And the first one's just about finished. So we'll see. If it sucks, you might have to just scrap the rest of them. But hopefully, waiting 10 years for a damn sequel, or 10 plus years, is worth it. Otherwise, you could just listen to my podcast and call it quits. So then we got Jake Sully, okay? In the beginning of the movie, he wakes up in some sort of like spaceship hypersleep thing, another kind of Ridley Scott Cameron sort of old-fashioned thing, in a zero-gravity space, and he finds out that his brother, who was in the armed services, was killed in action, and we also find out that Jake here is in a wheelchair. He can't really walk. He has these really bad atrophied legs, which are CG'd in, or I think they were prosthetic legs that were cast from a paraplegic person and just constructed and used in the movie. And Jake Sully there, Worthington wears his little blue or green tights and sticks them out of the picture, and they disappear, kind of like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. Because when I first saw that, God, man, I thought like, my God, man, Gary Sinise, what a method actor. He's really going for it, man. He gave his legs up to be in this movie, to play this part. It's incredible. Then I found out, yeah, he's just wearing the blue screen pants that you can erase the thing from the screen and you won't even know it, but then it's still there, It's just the magic of movie making, and that's not even the coolest trick they pull off in this movie, really. The most amazing thing really will be the creatures, the Navi, and how they're digitally captured and recreated from the actors' performances. But all these poor actors in this movie, all the main characters here, had to walk around in these crazy jumpsuits with like ping pong balls sticking off of them and dots on their face, for reference, and cameras stuck on their skulls, like, filming their face, filming their eyes, cheeks, jaw, lips, everything, just to get every motion captured and processed through a computer so that you could see these other computer-generated creatures look as lifelike as possible and lip sync absolutely perfectly. It's incredible, man. The motion capture technology was like really at the very cutting edge for this movie, and it looks great. So when you see these blue Smurfy giant steroid cat people, you're really convinced that they are really there and they're really alive, kind of like a video game, but they're imbued with so much emotion and a pretty decent script that you believe that they have feelings and stuff, and you care when they get angry, sad, or dead. All right, so let's follow Jake Sully here. He gets briefed because now he's similar brain-wise to his brother. Probably looks like him too, but he's similar in the brain, and they think that he's a great candidate to take his place on this mission he was going to do. But I don't remember exactly how the brother got killed, but Jake has really not much else going for him, so he figures, let's do this shit. He gets briefed by this guy, Spellman. Spellman is a pretty cool, nerdy character. I like the guy. Yeah, Joel David Moore plays Spellman. Good character. He's like a friendly guy. He's somebody you can count on and who also gets into a lot of trouble when they clash with the military. He was also in Dodgeball in 2004. And, if you can dodge a poison arrow, you can dodge a ball. And he also played Joey Ramone in the CBGB movie back in 2013. So, yeah, not a bad resume for you. Now you're an Avatar, and you'll probably be in all the avatars to follow. So good, that's all you need, man. You can cash in. Okay, so Spellman briefs Jake there, tells him about some stuff. We also meet another great character, Dr. Grace Augustine, played by our old favorite Sigourney Weaver. Was in some other Cameron movie, of course. She was Ripley in Aliens, and she was Ripley in Alien before that, and Ghostbusters, and Galaxy Quest, and lots of other great shit. She'll supposedly be in more Avatars later on, even though it seems implausible, but yeah, she'll be there, I guess. You'll learn why. And spoiler alert, in case I haven't said so already, I'm going to tell you everything if you didn't see Avatar, and if you didn't already know this, bleep it out or something. Alright, so she's cool, but she's a little bit sarcastic with him and smokes some CG cigarettes. And then we meet another dick-ass character, Selfridge, Parker Selfridge, played by Giovanni Ribisi, who's also an excellent actor. We love Giovanni Ribisi. He's usually in a lot more lighter fare than this, but sometimes he's in some pretty serious, great stuff, like the performance he gave in Sam Raimi's movie The Gift. Definitely worth watching. You've probably seen him on Sneaky Pete. He's done some funny stuff with Seth MacFarlane, like Ted and Million Ways to Die in the West. So here he is. He's just some company guy. He's kind of like an asshole. He's kind of nerdy and doesn't care and just says stuff to him. And he plays golf. And he's not really that big a deal, but he's like a suit, He's like a little cocky little bastard suit guy. But then there's this really pain in the ass, really sinister guy who is going to be trouble for the rest of the movie. The Colonel there. Colonel Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang, who also has played pretty bad people in some movies. He's been in like The Hard Way, and you might see him in Tombstone or Manhunter, and he even did a movie in '95 for television called The Possession of Michael D. But nobody cleared that with me, so I don't know. If I'm possessed, I hope it ain't by that fucking guy. Nobody owns me. One more cool person we got on board here is Michelle Rodriguez, playing Trudy. And of course, she's going to be tough. She's going to be a badass, Maybe sort of like Vasquez in Aliens, maybe. She's fast, she's furious. She's been in Resident Evils, and she's on Lost and Machete movies, and you all definitely know her. All those Fast and Furious, if you blink, you might have missed her, but she's in all those movies. And she's cool. She's in this movie. She's kind of like one of the good guys, because not everybody in this movie is a good guy, because then there would be no conflict and no interest. So here we are. We're in this lab. They travel to this planet called Pandora, which has its charms. And it's very colorful, but we can't breathe. It'll kill us. It's pretty, but deadly. We have to inhabit these avatar bodies to walk around, and these bodies can survive in this crazy atmosphere, and you intermingle with the real Na'vi population. So yeah, Jake gets to try on this avatar. He goes into this little sleep tank and he hook him up. He starts moving around with the body. It's like virtual reality, and you have this gigantic body that you're controlling through this little brainwave connection. He's not too good at it at first. He's stumbling around and he goes running amok outside, and just, hey, come on, you want to play with this brand new toy? Of course you're going to be a dick and make a fool of yourself. And they go on this little tour out there to find stuff and see if he can integrate himself and find some of the locals. So it gets dark outside, and you really don't want to be out there in the dark. Things happen. He gets separated from his gang there and slips down a couple of hills, and there's some scary creatures out there that resemble like panthers and stuff, except they're all glow in the dark and they have these cool color tones and scales and whatever. So he meets up with the other main character of this movie, Neytiri, who is a native Na'vi chick, very beautiful even for a giant Smurf chick, better than the Smurfette, I guess. Just a lot taller. So it's a picture like a 7-foot tall Smurfette, without the hat. And a lot less clothing. So there's this like really lithe, like lionine kind of woman there, Neytiri, played through computer mostly, of course, by Zoe Saldana, who I guess if you've seen her in Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Trek, whatever, playing Nina Simone, she's quite lovely in any shade, and she's all blue in this movie, and pretty beautiful. The motion capture is good. Her emotions really carry through, especially the scene where she gets very, very upset with Jake, and believe me, when you see the look of a woman's face when she's upset with you, I've seen that look before. It's very convincing the way she does it with the computer dots on her face. It's pretty good, man. Yeah, good acting, good programming. good bandwidth, whatever it is that brought that performance out of her. I liked it. It was good. So anyways, well, she first meets him. She meets Jake there, and he's really clumsy, and she knows he's not really a real Na'vi. She knows he's some imitation puppet guy running around in his play action figure suit there, and he's clumsy, and he has to jump around and chase her. Oh, wait, I didn't even get your number yet. He's old dorky trying to flirt with her and thinks he's cool. You are clumsy like child, you scown. I'm teaching him some words, whatever they are. And of course, the most important word you're going to learn in this movie, if you want to speak Na'vi, you have to say, I see you, because that means like you recognize their soul, their spirit, their chi, their feng shui, whatever the hell it is, their body odor. It's like this mystical, spiritual stuff that connects the trees and the people and the roots and the weeds and the grass and probably which they're smoking. It's just really, really a very, very hippie sci-fi kind of tree-hugging movie. But there is action coming too, don't worry. There's lots of action, big special effects and things that'll blow your mind, man. What else happens here? Okay, let's go. All right, so this gigantic tree that they all worship is called Awa, or it's like their tree god. If I'm wrong, forget it. I'm very sorry. I don't study. I don't have the Na'vi Bible in my lap here, but I'm trying to remember as best I can. So when you're doing this, fake walking around with the Na'vi, you're dream walking. Jake is trying to learn stuff while he's there. He has to spend the night out in the jungle. I don't know. They just can't unplug him. They don't want to leave his avatar body there because, who knows what will happen to it. Once you wake his ass up, the body just slumps down lifeless and unconscious, just like a discarded jacket or something. So there's this little thing. He meets the tribe there, and there's a sign from one of these little floating, glow-in-the-dark flower jellyfish that lands right on him. And it's like, oh, you have been chosen by Awa. Okay, I just thought it was going to sting me and give me a massive rash. But no, he seems to be some kind of special guy. Like there's some sign that he's not going to be an invader or plunderer like the rest of these humans that are there to come get their unobtainium. And the military is waiting on Jake. He keeps reporting back to them to see like how much progress he's made, how much trust he's earned, so he could kind of like screw them over eventually at some point and take their tree. Or chop it down, or whatever it is. They just want like this really rich deposit of this mineral, whatever the shit is, that's under the biggest tree in the whole jungle that they all love and they'll never budge from because they all live around it and they have their little tree houses and their hammocks and stuff hanging off of it. It's really pretty. It's nice. It'd be cool to hang out there, like maybe take a vacation, do like an Airbnb kind of thing. But of course you would, die in the toxic atmosphere. But other than that, it looks fun. It's a great place to go. So we see all this other stuff out there in the jungle when Jake is doing stuff. While he's awake, with the rest of the humans, they're trying to make their plans, but then he goes back into the Na'vi world, into the village there, and he gets trained like how to be a warrior and how to like do their stuff, because they have a school, and they would teach the little Na'vi kids stuff too, teach them art books and whatever, how to use a cell phone and how to text, whatever there is with their little long fingers that they got, watch all of our crappy reality TV, whatever they teach them. Hopefully the cultural exchange is balanced well and doesn't upset the entire order of Awa. So Jake has to really ascend into these like levels and these tests and rites of passage and all that kind of stuff. So he has to train on these flying banshee things, really other cool, colorful, winged, beastie things that they fly around on. They just use them as their mode of transportation. They have horses and things like horses, but the banshees are cool because they fly around. They can go much further, and you can see a lot of this jungle from above, and it's really neat to fly on those things. So when he goes climbing to get to where these banshees hang out on this cliff, you see these awe-inspiring, eye-popping, floating mountains and arches, and it seriously looks like it's been ripped right off of a classic rock prog album cover. It's like a Roger Dean wet dream happening right here. Seeing all this shit. It's amazing. I'm sure, James Cameron was playing some of those old Yes, Asia, and whatever albums back in the day, and using this artwork, but Roger Dean does not get any sort of credit here, so I'm giving it to him now, because I like his art. It's really nice. Yeah, I would listen to albums just because he painted the cover, even if it's total shit. It's like, well, beautiful cover. The music must sound kind of like that, right? Like, takes you to this other world. All right, but anyway, the Avatar soundtrack does not have any of his artwork either. It just has a blue face, of course, some Na'vi, very boring. We've seen it already. It's not that imaginative, but oh, I didn't even mention the music. Yeah, I was too busy talking about my own stupid Avatar song. The music in this movie is composed by the great late James Horner, who's done other Cameron movies before. His soundtracks are spectacular. He did some really good Star Trek soundtracks, 2 and 3, and my favorite soundtrack, Krull, which of course none of you have ever heard, but you should. And, lots of other excellent stuff. And usually, after a while, he starts putting songs in and singers, hence Titanic, and her heart will go on and on and on and not sink to the bottom of the ocean where it belongs. So he has like great compositions, and usually the music becomes a song at some point in the movie, and it does here too later on. But the music's very pretty. It's like one main theme going through, but it's very, very idyllic and beautiful, and yeah, it's nice. James Horner did a great job on this movie, and like most of his films, it really helps create the atmosphere that you're embedding yourself in, It's good. And you'll hear it a lot, and it really tugs at the emotions when it's supposed to. And yeah, there are some cool emotional moments in this movie. All right, Jake is learning how to ride the thing, how to ride the banshee. In order to really get a creature in this world to like pay attention to you and kind of like link, you got to plug into it. You got to take your ponytail braid, whatever the hell it is, and you stick it into some part of the animal. Usually they have a braid sticking out somewhere too, and it twists together. The little hairs or whatever they are twist together, and the pupil dilates, and this creature is suddenly aware, okay, we are one, our minds are one. And then the banshees are kind of like wild, so it kind of takes a little bit more connecting to connect to them. But Jake gets on one, he's flying around, he's learning, he's showing off, he's all smiling, he thinks he's making some headway there with Neytiri, he thinks he's going to be shagging her pretty soon. But there's another Na'vi guy, Tsute, who's kind of like a real badass, got this mean look on his face, he doesn't trust Jake, thinks Jake's a outsider, doesn't belong here. He probably has his own designs on Neytiri, of course, because she's like the prettiest artificial creature in the village there, and she's single apparently. But maybe she's promised to someone. There's all this tribal stuff. Like she may be promised to somebody, but promises were made to be broken, weren't they? But Tsute is cool because his human counterpart that we never really see, but the guy who plays him and does all the mocap, is Laz Alonso, who you might have seen in Constantine, and you more likely have seen as Mother's Milk in the Amazon series The Boys. So he's like totally different here. He's like blue milk in this movie, not like Mother's Milk. It's kind of milk that Luke would drink. But he's cool. He's tough. He eventually will sort of become Jake's ally, but he doesn't trust him for most of the movie. He just seems to be standing in his way and cock blocking him or hair braid blocking him from getting it on with Neytiri. Sorry, he has like that cool banshee flight thing through the floating mountains. It's really awesome. And the Colonel Quaritch, Stephen Lang, who might have actually been played by Michael Biehn, but I think Cameron was like, nah, we can't have ourselves another Aliens reunion here. It's going to be too distracting. And Michael Bihn's usually a nice soldier. He's not an asshole, except in The Abyss. But generally, he's like, he's Kyle Reese and he's Hicks, and he's usually heroic. So, yeah, Stephen Lang did a great job being a very sinister and bad military guy in this movie. He's talking to Jake, promising, you're doing great, son. Next rotation, you're going to get your legs back. It's all been cleared. Oh, thank you, sir. You don't have to be rolling around in a wheelchair anymore. But actually, getting your human legs, restored, that'd be cool. But I think he has more fun running around on like his gigantic Na'vi legs. So he prefers running around as a Na'vi. Plus, he's got like a potential alien girlfriend at this point. So I don't know, what has he got back on Earth? Probably not much. So you could tell like his loyalties are kind of like leaning more towards the natives there. And he's not going to fulfill this mission. But we don't want him to because the mission sucks. The mission is for the bad guys. All right, so anyway, there's a big tree ceremony. And eventually, of course, him and Neytiri, she says, you must choose a mate. I've already chosen. And of course he's hinting, she doesn't get it. Of course it's her. So they make out and their braids go together and there's this beautiful like lavender lighting. They're probably having some kind of sex, whatever passes for sex there on Pandora. And then a bulldozer comes by and starts wrecking trees and Jake wakes up and he's pissed off. And when he's in his little avatar body, he starts smashing the camera on the military machines. And they caught that on video. The camera was filming. You should have thought about that. He can't hide. They know what he looks like even as an avatar. So they caught him there. It's like, so we just got to wonder, like, what's your real motive here? And whose side are you on? The village, this is their home. And they're arguing, and Giovanni Ribisi is like, oh, it's just a bunch of trees. We'll sprinkle a few acorns on the ground after the grenades go off. All right, don't worry about it. Tree huggers. But no, they want to destroy home tree or whatever it is. Yeah, AY is like the spirit of the tree, and home tree is the big, big tree that they live in, I guess, because it's called a home tree. So that's the problem. They want to blow up home tree, get all the shit that's underneath it, and leave, and the poor Na'vi village will be destroyed and they'll have to like relocate or who knows what. It's like parallels to the sins of mankind and, Native Americans and stuff like that. So there's a lot of parallels there. There's a lot of messages here besides just hugging the trees and glowing the dark plants. So they unplug Jake, throw him in the brig because they don't trust him. The last time he goes to the village, Tsute's all pissed at him and Neytiri finds out, I'm really trying to help them displace you guys, and blah, blah. I'm not one of you, or like, I'm sorry, I'm working with the enemy. And she's like, she has this really great emotional thing. That's where her face is really expressive, and the computer dot things are really, really effective. And God bless me, she's really wonderful in this movie, that Zoe Saldana. Even when you watch the behind the scenes when she's doing the face and they're recording it with the little camera dot things, she looks like she's really, really genuinely distraught and pissed at Jake. He's not getting any more action for her. Those braids are going to be tied up tight from now on. So he has to win back the respect, man. And the only way he could do that is to go take on the biggest, baddest banshee called the Turuk. It's like the one they're all scared of, and none of them can really ride because it's so wild and big and violent and unstable. So he figures, okay, now I just got to bust out of jail here and go ride that thing, and then I can show off and I'll get back in good standing with the Na'vi, right? They start shooting the home tree, and the father of the village dies, but then when Jake is like in his regular body and he's in jail, Trudy comes along, Michelle Rodriguez busts him out. She takes a chopper or some sort of cool flying thing out with him and with Sigourney Weaver in there, and she, unfortunately, Sigourney gets shot on the way out by the colonel, and she's wounded and bleeding. So they go to this remote lab that they have hiding out in the jungle that they moved over with a helicopter so they could work more privately and more closely with the blue people. So Jake goes in there, and he's back in his avatar body again, which thankfully nobody has diced up or burned. He can still get in there and use it. So he goes to the Turok, and he gets on there, and he's flying in this really triumphant, exciting, heroic scene. He's flapping the big wings there and lands there in front of them all. Neytiri is still pretty pissed at him, honestly, but he's making some progress there, showing off with that. It's like pulling up in a Ferrari or something, when everyone else is just using like a horse and buggy. Like, check it out, I'm gonna go for a spin. But he has to use this Turok thing to help fight like all the military craft, because they have almost like aircraft and artillery and stuff, and they're just gonna come blow away all your trees, and bows and arrows are not gonna really do much against that. So you gotta have all these flying banshees and really great battle scenes coming up, and Sute gets killed in one of these battles, falls off, but he takes a few of these military dicks with him before he goes. A lot of spears getting thrown, and these giant things like bamboo, like these giant bamboo stalks that they use as arrows. So they're pretty damn big, and they're all dipped in poison or something. So, you die when you get stuck with one of those. So Grace is very in bad shape there. Sigourney may not make it through the movie. So they have to try and take her to this tree. This tree will hopefully join your human and avatar bodies together permanently, and the spirit will transfer through the roots, and the roots start glowing, yellow and pink and beautiful colors in the dark, and they're doing all this chanting and stuff. But unfortunately, like, the power gets cut or something, and the lights will go out, and she doesn't connect, and she doesn't transfer, so they lost her. But we're supposed to be seeing more Sigourney Weaver in the Avatar sequels, so there must be some way to get her back. I don't know. Maybe there's a carving of her somewhere, and they scrape off some bark and they can reproduce her. I don't know, but we'll find out. Maybe in December, or whenever these new movies come along, we should be seeing some more Sigourney, or they'll do flashbacks, whatever it is. Just like, the whole cast, everybody's coming back, even if they're dead. Just come back. Make the movie again. We'll have a few extra people in them, I think, too. Vin Diesel's supposed to be in the sequels, probably just playing Groot, but like a glow-in-the-dark Groot. Probably have a few more lines of dialogue. And maybe Michelle Rodriguez will come back, and they'll get back together and reminisce about all the cars they drove and things that they flew off of cliffs and shit, and stunts and things, and family. Anyways, that's a different franchise. So back to Avatar, So this is a great battle. There's a stampede. The Colonel is facing off against Neytiri. He's got one of these like power loader things, just like at the end of Aliens. You see Ripley fighting the Queen. He's got one of those kind of things. It's a little bit more fancy, but it does the same shit. It's got the claws. He doesn't say, "Get away from me, you bitch," or anything like that, but he tries to kill her, and she tries to kill him, and her animal that she's riding falls on her, and she's still able to get those arrows out and shoot a couple of them into the Colonel, and they're pretty strong, pretty potent arrows, I think, but it takes him a while, but he finally goes down. And Jake there, his place that he's in is like leaking atmosphere. He can't breathe, and Neytiri gets there just in time and sticks the replacement mask on him and starts breathing. He opens his regular human eyes, and for the first time he sees the real Na'vi Neytiri, and she sees the real scrawny ass little human him that she's already like mated with. But it wouldn't work out that way. I think like the proportions are just too wrong. It wouldn't work. He would never ever like size up to what she would require. So I guess the Na'vi is properly endowed. So he has to get back to that other body he's got, wherever it is. Otherwise, she'd probably just like crush him accidentally. So anywho, the battles go on. All these flying banshees and all this cool, beautiful, colorful special effects and things. The Na'vi win, and they send back all the assholes, and all the good people stay on the planet, and they make a nice alliance, and they have to plant some new trees and go move somewhere else. But there's a lot of trees, don't worry about it. They're all nice. They all glow in the dark, and nothing to worry about. Your black light lamp bulb might need to be replaced, but everything's going to be just perfect, just the way it was. And at the very, very end, Jake gets brought to the tree, and they do the ritual, and they try to integrate him so that he can stop being a damn human with the faulty legs and be a Na'vi again. Be Jake Sully. Whatever they call him in his damn language there. I don't speak that much Na'vi. But he's getting connected to the tree, and they're doing the chanting, and at the very, very last shot of the movie is the Avatar eye opening up and staring right at you, and then the credits roll, and they play a song at the end. No, not mine. They have this Leona Lewis song, I See You, of course. It's the James Horner music with lyrics, and I'm not going to sing it, but you could hear her do it. He didn't ask me. Thanks. Thanks a bunch, Jim. I would have gotten you a song in there. You would have saved a whole lot of money. I work cheap. You could have spent some more money, bought some more cameras, planted some more fake glow-in-the-dark plants. Whatever. So maybe next time around he'll do something else. And Avatar was great. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, but there's a whole lot of extra footage. There's more stuff. There's an extended version. Of course, almost every James Cameron movie has extended versions. And there's a few good scenes in the extended Avatars. There's a cool alternate opening, this kind of Blade Runner-y type Times Square. And Jake gets into a barroom brawl, even though he's in a wheelchair. He still gets his ass handed to him and tossed out in the gutter when he finally finds out about his brother there, and he goes to the cremation, and then he gets his briefing and finds out, what he can do. And then I think there's like an extended love scene with him and Nate Thierry where they have like slightly more intricate braid fucking. And it's pretty funny. The first time you see him touching his braid when he's trying out his avatar body, Grace there is saying, hey, don't play with that, you'll go blind. So you really, know what it's for, I guess. I think that's it. You gotta keep your hair well conditioned, all right? Don't put too much product in it, if you want to have a good mating. And, that's Avatar. There's a few little bits of trivia stuff. Oh, one interesting thing in the abandoned school that the kids, the little Na'vi kids were learning in, there was a book there, Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, which is also about a pretty forest that's being threatened by outsiders or people who don't appreciate its beauty or something like that. I haven't read anything since Green Eggs and Ham. I really don't know, but I guess it's cool and it's relative and the literature ties in and it's significant. And the special effects were like crazy in this movie. Really like over the top, a nice union of Weta, which is the New Zealand company that does all the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson stuff. And ILM, of course, our old favorites, Industrial Light and Magic, which did pretty much every Star Wars and other amazing special effect movie you've ever seen in your life. So, of course, this movie should look great. And we're going to find out how good the new Avatar movie looks, maybe another few months down the line. Looking forward to it. I saw the trailer just popped up before Doctor Strange there. And honestly, it looks just like a regular Avatar movie, except there's a lot more going on underwater. So again, Cameron with his underwater shit, going back to that again. I don't know. I don't see much else going on in these trailers, but now they have a family. So Jake's hair must have been pretty healthy because they produced a child, at least one, and they had a family now. And since Vin Diesel's coming along, it is just going to be all about family. It's going to just be like Fast and the Furious with blue giant Smurf people. And instead of cars, they fly around on these dragons and through 70s prog rock album cover worlds. It's great. I don't know. Drugs might help, but I think we'll enjoy this movie in any case when it comes out. It'll be great. And of course, if you really want to have an amazing Avatar experience without having to go to these movies, there was some cool stuff, years after the movie, there was some exhibits. There was Avatar exhibits all over the world. I went to one in Taiwan. It was like a museum, a lot of glow-in-the-dark stuff and interactive things and pictures you could take and see what you look like as a Na'vi. Yeah, you're not as impressive as the ones in the movie. But the coolest thing of all, if you got time and money and you're in Florida, you got to go to Disney's Animal Kingdom, to the Pandora world of Avatar, and there's 2 Avatar things there, besides like some scenery and like the mountains and things that look really cool. There's this like little boat ride, which is nice. It's kind of slow, but you go through the tunnels underground, and it's very glow in the dark and really pretty. But the thing that you absolutely got to try is the Flight of Passage. It's this banshee thing where you're sitting on kind of like just like a motorcycle or a speeder or like a Sea-Doo, and you put on like your screen in front of your eyes there, and your ankles get clamped in, like, you know, you're starting to worry, what the fuck's this thing gonna do to me? You know, you gotta get really tightly clamped in there, and then there's a briefing, and the screen comes up, and essentially it's like a simulator, a flight simulator, where you're riding a Banshee, so it gets all 3D and surrounds you with all these cool visuals, and it starts tilting you, and you feel the wind in your face, and you start diving, and your stomach starts lifting up out of your gut there, out of your rib cage, and you start feeling queasy, and you feel mist spraying in your face, and more than likely you'll feel puke spewing back in your face, and it's just so cool. You know, it's not for the weak, faint-hearted, but yeah, it's cool. You know, you'll ride that shit, and you'll feel, you know, you'll turn blue for sure, one way or another, blue, green, or some other color by the time you get off this thing. But it's so awesome. You gotta try it. I liked it a lot. That came around in 2017. They released that. So that took, it took less time than the damn sequel. You know, it took longer to make a damn movie than it did to build this attraction at the park. And it's very cool. I totally recommend doing that. And getting back in line for another 2 hours and doing it again. So before I sign off here, just to do it traditionally, you know, because this is about the end of my episode. This is not one of my longest episodes, even though the movie was really long. That's kind of all I got to say. You know, I'm going to just wait for the new Avatar to come out. And if it's really like, wow, you know, maybe I'll do another podcast about that too. But enough, you know, it's like, I think we're done here. We've said all we had to say. Really enjoyed talking about Avatar. It's almost as fun as watching Avatar. So before I bid you all farewell and sign off, let me at least express something to you in Na'vi, because, you know, I should at least know a couple of words, right? I mean, I'm not like the most, you know, worldly person or the most linguistically skilled, most cunning linguist that you'll ever see. But I would like to say to you all, Wel Nati Kameye, which is, I see you. And I see you listening to my podcast next time around too when a new episode drops, so thanks again. I see you, you hear me, I love you, Barney, and thanks so much for checking out this Missing Real season premiere. A new one's coming soon, just like a new Avatar. So alright, I'll see you soon, because I see you. Hope they don't use that as a damn catchphrase for the new movie. They got to come up with some new shit. I mean, at least give us some new words next time, right? Because it's going to be, you know, all these years we've been waiting. They should be completely fluent by now. They should give it, like, pass out a dictionary with the next movie, kind of like what they did with the original Dune, so we know what the hell they're talking about. We don't need subtitles for this entire thing. It's already like a worldwide phenomenon, so there's going to be subtitles everywhere. So there's going to be like subtitles for the subtitles, because everyone's speaking these different crazy languages everywhere you go. And then you have to have Na'vi with different accents and different dialects. Oh, that's crazy. It's okay. It's creative. It beats having a whole movie in Klingon, right? Yes, of course it does. All right, go James Cameron. Woo! See ya!
I